Hello YouTube, Goddard Radio Moscow here again with another beer review for you, as is usual. For this one we're going to stick in the state of Victoria in Australia, and we're going to do one of the beers from one of the breweries that are actually really quite well known. I'm told that these guys are one of the sort of founders of the craft beer movement within Australia. So we're going to go to the Matilda Bay Brewery and have a taste of their Fat Yak. Now I believe this is quite a widely exported Australian beer, so if you have a good craft beer shop wherever you're watching in the world, you might well be able to get this guy. But it's meant to be quite a nice sort of English style pale ale, this one, so should be quite an interesting one for us to review. But as is usual then, I'll take you through a few facts about the brewery. Just fast forward a few minutes and you'll get straight to the tasting if that's all you want to see. The brewery website's in the video description for you below, along with a link to my other reviews that I will probably do in the future from Matilda Bay Brewery. So anyway, this company started life as a company called Brewtech, and they were based in Western Australia, and they were founded by a group of young entrepreneurs who wanted to give Australia better beer. But the group purchased the Freemasons Hotel in Fremantle, which is also where Little Creatures are from, out in Western Australia. But they installed a brewery and renamed the hotel, and this was called the Sail and Anchor Hotel at this point. But this business grew very, very rapidly, and soon after they purchased property in Nedlands and opened it up as the Matilda Bay Brewery, at which time their main brands were Redback and Dog Bolter. Now the group had an ever expanding hotel chain which also included the Port Melbourne Brewing Company, which actually operated as the Redback Hotel in Flemington Road in the northern suburbs of Melbourne. Now in 1988 the brewery moved to a bigger premises at the old renovated Ford factory in Stirling Highway in North Fremantle out in Perth in Western Australia, but the company became part of the CUB family, the Carlton United Breweries. This is obviously the biggest kind of brewery company that you have out here in Australia, but this gave them a kind of a very national beer distribution, and they also expanded their kind of brewing capacity and stuff like this. So this is a very widely distributed craft beer, this one. But in 2007 the company relocated to Victoria, and they brewed initially in Dandenong, and then they moved to a renovated Cadbury's chocolate factory in Bertie Street, Port, which is also home to their restaurant now, so you can go there and eat all the different. They've got quite a nice kind of gourmet menu from what I had a look at on the brewery website. But their head brewer is Scott Vincent, and apparently he's quite highly regarded in craft beer circles in Australia. They do have a number of different beers. I think there was about 7 or 8 of them listed on the brewery website, so as I always say, check that out if you are interested, and you can see all the different brews that they have on offer, and hopefully I'll review a few more of them in the future as well. So let's get on to the tasting of this guy now. I'll just bring it up to the camera and let you have a little look at the artwork on this one. You can see the kind of the Fat Yak on it there, the kind of horns and things like that. It's quite a nice little bit of artwork. You can see on the top label there, the light's reflecting on it a bit, but you can see this kind of copper kettle is the Matilda Bay Brewery symbol, and that's also on the bottle cap of this one as well. It's a nice kind of coppery coloured bottle cap to go along with that kettle. It tells you a little bit on the back. It says Fat Yak is deep golden colour and has some sizable floral aroma. We added hops to the kettle early and late in the boil to balance the bitterness, while dry hopping late in fermentation delivers some big citrus and fruity hop characteristics. It's a big hairy beer, but still approachable like a yak. And it tells you just a little bit on the top of the thing. It says, established in 1984, Matilda Bay are the pioneers of Australian craft brewing. From humble beginnings with our original copper brewing kettles, we continue to brew with the same spirit and passion today. So these guys are, what, 30 years old now, so that's quite an impressive, one of the kind of very old craft breweries within Australia. But let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. Just to tell you about the hop and malt profile that's on this one, this is a 4.7% kind of English style pale ale apparently, and it was first brewed in 2008, and they hop it with Pride of Ringwood, Cascade and Nelson Sauvin hops, and they use pale and crystal malt in the malt base, so it should be quite an interesting one for us to try. So let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting here. So there we are, a nice kind of smoky opening there, and we'll just get this out and into the glass. I actually tried this one on tap the other day, and it was really quite interesting. It was very kind of hoppy. It was more, I usually expect malt to come out a little bit more when you have a beer on tap, but this one was a very, very kind of aromatic and grainy hop character that came out on it. So I'm interested to see how the bottled beer compares. So let's have a look at this guy. As you can see, it's a very kind of bright goldeny colour actually. It looks a little bit darker and deeper than it is on the camera, but when I'm looking at this guy in the light, it's a very kind of light pale strawish golden colour. There's a good chunk of carbonation there going up towards the bottom of the head, and you can see if I put my fingers behind that, it's completely transparent. The head is quite frothy, but around the edges it's got a nice kind of big bubbly, kind of bigger bubble bumpiness to it, I would say. But it's quite an attractive looking beer, so let's give it a smell. Yeah, it does smell quite a bit like the tap version, if you like. It does have that big kind of aromatic-y, citrusy aroma to it. You're picking up a little bit of the kind of bready malts underneath this though. It's got a quite sweet bready caramel, maybe a slight yeasty character kind of sitting underneath that. But the most prominent part of the beer definitely is the hops, as you would expect with it being a pale ale. But it's got a nice kind of floral aromatic-y character that you would associate with an English pale ale. But it's a very attractive looking beer. But it's got a little bit of an earthy character to it as well, actually. I'm definitely picking that up. There's a big kind of earthy and sort of grainy character to it, sort of cereal spice actually. But it's got, for an English kind of pale ale, it definitely has all of the kind of characteristics you would expect in the aroma. A nice kind of grainy malt base in there, good bit of cereal spice, maybe just the touch of earthy character, but a lot of kind of grassy, kind of citrusy and floral hop aromas in there. It's got quite a lemony citrus to it actually. Very kind of sweet smelling. So let's give it a taste and see how we get on here. So this is the Fat Yak Pale Ale from the Matilda Brewing Company in Melbourne in Australia. One thing I would say on first taste, the kind of hop profile of it, that kind of earthy kind of hop character that comes out of it is a little less prominent in the bottled version. The bottled version seems a little bit kind of less punchy, if you like. It's more of a good blend of flavours this than in comparison with the cask one that I had. I'll just get the last little bit of this out and that's it done. But it's a nice beer. This one's very, very smooth and quite a kind of fresh English pale ale. But yeah, I would go with that. On the opening, you get a nice kind of grassy and sort of the grassy kind of aromatic-y citrus freshness there. You do feel that kind of little bit of bitter bite just at the front of the tongue there, and the citrusy flavours kind of spread around the edge of the tongue and give you that really nice freshness that you want from a kind of English pale ale or even a golden ale. But it's definitely matchy. It definitely matches the English pale ale kind of characteristic in my opinion, rather than the American pale ale. I'm not sure if they describe it as an American pale ale, but I think it's an English pale ale, this one. It definitely is. It's not quite fruity enough and not quite sweet enough in the malt base to fit the American pale ale characteristic. But yeah, when you get past that kind of initial grassy, kind of citrusy hop character, and you move more into the malt base, and it is kind of quite bready. It's got a slight, maybe just a teeny little bit of toasty character to it, but it's mainly a kind of grainy and cereal bread flavour you're getting in this one. Just a teeny bit of sweetness in there, but that sits like right in the middle of the tongue, and then you've got, it just moves into this kind of hoppy, kind of citrusy, aromatic freshness as you get toward as you move towards the edge of the tongue, and it's got that nice bitter dry bite at the front of the tongue. It's a very nice, it's one of the best English pale ales I've had actually, I would say that. And it's not the English pale ale is not one of my favourite styles, I should add, so it's quite difficult to impress me with this one, but I do like this beer. But yeah, it's has all the freshness you want. This is a good kind of quite summer's day sessionable beer. It's a little bit more carbonated, I would say, than some of the English equivalents, and that's maybe what makes it a bit. That's probably what makes it a bit more drinkable. And as I said in my last Australian review, this is what they like here. They like their beers to be quite carbonated and quite refreshing, because obviously, particularly in the northern states of Australia, it's very, very hot. But I would describe this guy as being quite light, maybe not really even pushing the mid-bodied actually. It's a very light-bodied beer. It's got a good kind of moderate level of carbonation. It's not the most carbonated beer I've come across, but it's nice and light and refreshing. It's got a teeny little bit of oily character to it, I would say, but overall it's a very kind of light and very kind of smooth and refreshing beer. I really quite like this one, and as I say, It's got a nice, it kind of makes the transition through the flavour very well. You get the nice kind of sweet, kind of citrusy aromatic burst at the front, then you move into the kind of grainy malt base in there. The fruity character comes out a little bit in the aftertaste. You've got more of a kind of lemony flavour, but the orangey citrus I think does come out a wee bit too. And then the hops stay with you into the aftertaste, and you've just got that nice bready flavour just lingering in the middle of the tongue. The mouthfeel, light to mid-bodied, like I say, very easy drinking beer, and it's got a good bit of dry character from the kind of fresh and aromatic-y element in the hops as well. The earthy character, interestingly, only comes out a little bit. It's more prominent in the aroma, I think, but in the flavour, it comes out only very slightly, I would say. But overall, it's a very nice and quite drinkable kind of English style pale ale, this one. So if you do get the chance, like I said, this is a quite widely distributed Australian craft beer, and it's from, I think, one of the oldest craft breweries in Australia, so it should be one that you can get your hands on either inside or outside of Australia. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. I will be reviewing more beers from the state of Victoria and Australia over the next 10 videos or so, so subscribe to the channel if you are interested in that. Comment in the section below if you do happen to have tried this beer yourself. As always, I hope you've enjoyed my beer reviews. Please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff, and I will catch you over the next wee while with my upcoming beer reviews. Cheers!